It, it reminds me of like my ex-girlfriend, because we were like, "Oh my God, Darius, you're such a catch. You're mentally ill. You're overweight. You're like obese. I was like 300 plus pounds. I still am. I'm like 290 or whatever I am. But like losing weight. Like now that I've balanced it out, I'm not like obsessively um, addicted to food, which was like the coping mechanism from like the latest depression. Years and years of it. Okay, you're mentally ill, you're overweight, fat, obese, you have no job, you have no formal education, some college, but never finished, never got my degree, no career, no money. You're such a catch. And we would laugh about it because like she loved me for who I was and she knew I was the shit. I was cool. I'm a cool dude, you know, in the most humble way possible. I acknowledge and love the loserness of me. I'm okay with it. It is in that humility, it is in that profound understanding of me just being like anybody else without all the fucking superfluous labels that we put on each other, that we judge each other by. Oh, what kind of car do you drive? What job do you have? Are you somebody in the world? You're somebody in the world. You're born, motherfucker. Of course you're somebody in the world. If you ever question why you're here, what your purpose is, why are you living, you were born. The isness of that fact, God wants you here. You asked to come here, to incarnate. You chose your life. Everybody does. And so why did I choose to have this fucked up life? To be mentally ill, to struggle for so long, to glimpse these truths, to have these severe depressions, to have these addictions, man. Like to live utter hell for years, to feel so lonely for so long because I had cut myself off from the outside world. Why would I choose that? Because, you're like fast tracking yourself, man. The more hardcore shit you endure in your life, the more probability, the more likely it is that you're going to wake up out of it. Hopefully, if you like, if the senses are alive, if you open your eyes and, if you have ears, hopefully you can hear, like Jesus says, right? If you can pay attention, oh my God, like I feel like shit. Something must be wrong. But everyone's okay living their mundane, boring, depressed lives, too afraid to live. And I was that way too, so I'm not like casting shade or nothing. I'm just saying I can identify with that. I feel you. I know what it's like. And I'm at least an example of someone that conquered that shit. I came out of it by the grace of God, but also choice. I chose to learn about this stuff, man. It was my passion. I remember when I was like in my teens, I was so lost. I was so like what am I going to do with my life? What is my purpose? You know how many times I changed my major in college? I was going to be an engineer. I was going to be an economist. I was going to like do this and that. I was good at math and science. So like, I could make some money being like, a chemist or whatever it was, whatever I had aptitude for. But none of it felt right. I couldn't see myself in a cubicle, like being an engineer. Like I couldn't envision myself that way. And it's because God had greater plans for me. I had to go through 25 years, 26 years of damnation to come out the other side, to speak about it. And it didn't dawn on me that I was supposed to start a YouTube channel until like 5 years ago. Just like in like, COVID times. I was like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Like it just came in. But I didn't start it till like now. So, it took another 5 years of me like working through my shit. Because I still had it. Like that depression that I was in, it had such an inertia. It was like moving the boulder up the mountain, you know? And it's slow going in the beginning. And you have to start like trying. There's some effort involved. That's your choice. That effort is, how do I align myself with God? It's very simple, but we overcomplicate it. How do I align myself? That is the choice that you have. Everyone thinks that there's like free will, and there's the illusion of free will. There's destiny as well, what you're meant to do. God knows everything. Do you think God doesn't already know what choices you're going to make? It's already planned out for you. Personally, subjectively, it's free will. Your own POV, you're living your life, you're making your choices. But God's the grand puppeteer. We're all just his little puppets, his little playthings, acting out the divine will. Even when you're not consciously aligned with God's will, you're still acting out his will. He allows it. He allows the suffering. He's in the suffering. Don't you guys understand that? How profound that is. God isn't only the good shit, man. He's also the evil shit. He encapsulates it all. Because he knows the flip side of the coin of your suffering is your salvation. And it took me a long time to realize that stuff, man. I was like, I need to find the good. I need to find the good and the purity and the truth and the humility. That was the last lesson, the humility. Oh man, the pride. And it wasn't like, 7 deadly sins, the pride, and like, oh. It's the aspect of pride that fucks you. It's the arrogance. Arrogance, hubris. That's the more accurate word. So to be grounded in the humility, to understand that you're nothing, to understand that you're just one little piece in the grand puzzle of everything that is, literally. This camera, the stand, the chair I'm sitting in, the room that I'm in, the city that I'm in, the world, the oceans, the mountains, the desert, the moon, the sky, the stars, the space in between, everything and nothing is God. The tiniest atom to the largest freaking mountain, to the most grand freaking vista that you've seen, the most beautiful. It's in sex, in lovemaking. The spark is there. It's everywhere. And so you can't say, oh no, the children suffering in Africa, the famine, the disease, the illness. That stuff is meant to be. The suffering is chosen by us. Even the little kid. It's like everyone wonders, like, why are there children that get leukemia and they die of cancer? Because there's people that are attached to the kid. It's for the child's development to come in, their soul development. It's for the parents and the grandparents and the cousins and the nephews and the nieces and all your families and closest friends. Everybody that touches that life gets an aspect of that suffering when they suffer. And then they have to learn those experiences. It's for their own growth too. It isn't compartmentalized, man. It's the magic tapestry that's interwoven into everything. So you can't, we're all connected, even if we're not aware of it. Consciously, you can only be aware of so many things, but subconsciously, unconsciously, back here, you're connected to the flip side of the fucking universe, motherfucker. The other side of the world in China, what that dude is thinking is coming into my subconscious, believe it or not. And when it trickles through, when it makes its way through, if it's designed and meant to trickle its way through the subconscious and make itself conscious, then it will, in God's own timing. He knows better than everyone. She, it, the goddess. Sometimes it's more accurate to label God as the goddess, the feminine, the creative, the sustenance. That's why the Indians, they're on the money with their shit when you look at yoga, but then you look at you have Shiva, the destroyer, and Brahman, and Vishnu, the different aspects, because they know that there's divinity in every aspect of life. But anyway, the point is that the vastness of everything that is it's all connected, okay? And so for me to sit here and think that I am just the greatest motherfucker of all time, that's bullshit. You're nothing, I'm nothing, we're nothing. Yay, can we agree on that? Are we okay with that? Can we admit that? Can you understand that deeply and carry it around with you? Can you sit and meditate on it for a good hour or two? What does that mean, that I'm literally nothing? And that's kind of, you start delving off into the non-duality stuff. And there's a bunch of non-duality, Ramana Maharshi, Robert Adams kind of stuff, Rupert Spira, whatever. That stuff is great. You can go the non-duality route, but it's also within duality, within the three-dimensional constructs of where we're living, the divine is there too. So don't go too far outside. Zoom out, okay? But then come and zoom back in and participate. Because for me, for the longest time, I was you know what, dude, maybe this life isn't for me. I feel like I belong in some mountain somewhere, just as a monk, in a monastery or something. And I had to reconcile that. And then I had Jesus's teachings that were tugging at my heartstrings too. He was very important influence in my life. And it's not oh, Jesus is God and Jesus is the Son of God and he died for our sins, all that fucking nonsense, because it is nonsense. That's just stuff that people added on afterwards to prop him up and put him up on the pedestal. The greatness of who he was didn't need amplification. We didn't need to expand on his greatness. He was already great. And it's your job to sift through and make sense of what's truth and what's not. And it's very difficult to do it. It took me reading a bunch of different scriptures and religions and spiritual teachers, and getting different slices of the pie and unraveling that slowly over time. And being oh, it's like this. Oh, it's like that. Oh, it's not like this. It's not like that, but it's like this. That makes sense. That doesn't make sense. And even if I thought something made sense, you sit with it. I would sit with it for enough time that if I found examples that were kind of counterintuitive, that went against what I thought made sense at the time, I was very quick to change that. I was that doesn't fit. Get rid of it. And you do that enough, there's only a handful, a dozen core truths that everything revolves around, that everything builds on. And when you see the clarity of everything, you can extrapolate stuff out very easily. You see through shit very easily. You read people, you read situations. You don't even actively try and read stuff. You're not computing, analyzing. You're not like that. You're not in the mind. Your intuition is so upfront that it's just surveying everything naturally and you're checking in with it and your mind has a thought and you're then you're checking in with your heart and your mind and your heart and your mind and you're going back and forth. What feels right? What doesn't make sense? And you reach conclusions, and then they turn into beliefs. But keep your beliefs open until you've done enough surveying